for now. For now, this is a session that I've been looking forward to. Fojo got in touch a few weeks ago to say, hey, this is really important. You know, COVID has shown us where all these gaps are in terms of training and what people need, what newsrooms need in terms of operations. So Johanna Son is here to talk about that, and she's assembled a wonderful team of co-speakers that she's going to be presenting to us really shortly. Johanna is the editor of Reporting ASEAN, and she's based in Thailand. Johanna, over to you. Thank you for this.
Morning to everybody, and good evening to Ian. Yeah. So indeed, as both Rishad and Alan have said, right, we kind of tried to put together like a session that's kind of common, but at the same time not so common, even for people in Southeast Asia and even for the media in Southeast Asia. So when I say Southeast Asia, that's basically 11 countries, and this is like the corner that we call CLMV. CLMV meaning Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam, which are called such a subset of Southeast Asia because they were the later set of countries that joined ASEAN. Basically, that's where the subset was. That's their anchor. But of course, there are other things that go with it. So the assumption in media terms and development terms is that these are the kind of lower income countries, but in the last 5-8 years, I think Vietnam, even in ASEAN circles, has moved kind of away from CLMV. So development wise, it's really the rest of ASEAN V and then more CLM. Having said that, there's a particular flavor to CLMV that's a bit different from the rest of Southeast Asia. So when you talk about media in the Philippines, media in Indonesia, CLMV has a bit of its own spice. So we wanted to feature that as well today by having people who are from that setting, and hope also maybe to maybe break a few stereotypes that other people might have about the sub-region and what's possible to do, what's already happening, and maybe how they look at their own future, in that sense. So to help set the scene before I call on our other resource people, I wanted to bring into the discussion the views and the voices of uh, editors, trainers, and journalists from CLMV through through highlights of a survey that we did prior to this discussion. So we asked different editors, media trainers, journalists, how they assess COVID-19 in terms of the relationship and impact on their work. And it tells us, I think, a few things that might be, well, let's see, it might be more particular to them, but is definitely reflective of their reality. So I just have 3 slides as a way to tell you what they all say, and then we'll move to the others. So okay, I need now to present. Yeah. So
Wait, yeah, okay, here it is.
is it?
Nicely
Can you
done.
see?
Yep,
Yeah.
perfect.
So this is like just really sharing what because they all can't be in this web discussion. So let me share with you just a bit of what they said. So this was what we called a reflection survey for the 4 countries. And then this is just the composition of who responded so far. The numbers are probably going to grow a little bit more. So mostly they are not so bad gender balance. And then mostly Vietnam and Myanmar. Most of them say that they work with media organizations. The rest are a mix of trainers and editors. Most of the respondents, if I remember right, are between like 5 to 15, 20 years in the profession. So, oops, sorry. Yeah. So what did they say? We had 10 questions that I asked, but I just highlight some that are interesting for today. So for the first one, we asked uh, like indicate your agreement with a few sentences, right? So almost 60% said they think the impact of the pandemic will be for sure short term or at least through 2020. But then 2020 is almost finished. And then 30% said that they think it has changed the way we do journalism, but we don't fully know yet. And as we said at the start, like if the pandemic forced journalists to move online, but moving online means different things where you are, and it means different things often in CLMV, more especially probably in CLV, yeah, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. So we asked them to assess how they think this shift, uh, how their journalists in their country cope with the shift. So there's an equal number you see from people who say easy and people who say very hard. I also want to say that this is meant to capture not just not just the question about do you have access to internet. I think that's at the most basic fundamental level. We're talking about things like quality, speed, cost. You know, are you on unlimited data? Unlimited data is a privilege in some places. And then the third one is we asked them to rate the quality of storytelling and reporting around the pandemic. That's the response. So average said 56. Um, but we don't really know what average means, no? As Naya was saying, average can sometimes be a default answer when you're not sure that is it bad or is it good. But interestingly, you have 8% who say excellent. And people will have different parameters for what is good. Now, interesting, the skills needed. There was a how do you say a synergy between a few questions that aimed to look at like what people thought they had, what people thought they needed, and what people thought they needed to teach or train in. And by teaching or training, I don't just mean the formal settings of like media training institutes. I also mean, you know, when you're mentoring a younger reporter, if you're, say, a day editor and you have staff, right? Uh, if you're a copy editor, often you're also doing a bit of training, right, with people who write stories in your team. So the most popular answer for what people needed was around understanding the science and the medicine and the health, public health aspect of COVID or the relationship between those, and the ability to uh, understand and present infographics and visuals, including data stories. And as I asked a specific question about, you know, what if you were to teach, what would you like to teach, and what would you need to teach? Yeah, need to teach. And they said, yeah, 52% data visualization, 49% conceptualizing, because I mean, the data visualization is not just the technical part. In many ways, using the platform, whether it is Tableau or Flourish, is the easiest part of it, right? It is still story conceptualization and understanding like relationships. 31% said online tools. That's to do, I think, with the fact that not everybody has a lot of time and maybe the interest and gets a kick out of trying different things. I mean, I tried a few things for the book on online journalism that we produced in Fojo. So you kind of test a few things and recommend a few things based on maybe where you are, maybe what else you use, maybe if you want to use, for example, open source and issues about digital security. So that's sort of what we heard. Finally, I just want to, which we will share later, is like this is like a link to the book where which talks more about, you know, how this book was done from the perspective of a developing country setting, which is not even the same as, say, Singapore, right? I mean, where you cannot take for granted access to the internet, cost to the internet, and what it means when you had it in your office and now you have to worry or set it up at home. And since the context is very much that, the book is also being translated in Khmer, Lao, Burmese, and Vietnamese, because after all, local media in these parts are very much grounded and dominated by local languages as well, both in practice, in distribution, and in the teaching and training of journalism. So with that, yeah, I think we are ready to go to. I think we are ready to go to some sharing and some reflections from our three guests today. COVID clearly is a long story. We are now about 7 months after the first lockdown. So it's kind of the novelty news-wise, right, has maybe uh, eased a bit, which is good and bad. I mean, I read in the World Association of Newspapers website that readership and audience of COVID-19 news has been going down like this almost straight since April. But then we clearly need to do our function as explainers, right? And that to contribute to what we call risk communication. So, and at the same time, we're finding out that this isn't, your adrenaline kind of eases and, runs out after some time now. So what do we do? So it's long enough after the initial, but also still short enough for us like to be thinking about, what we do. So I'd like to ask Uyen. Uyen Diep is in Kansas right now. She's taking her
Yes.
master's, but she is the media correspondent of Thanh newspaper based in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. So we'd like to ask her maybe like tell us what coverage was like after after the pandemic and during the lockdown particularly, and what it's like now with the second or third wave in Vietnam.
Yeah, so hi everyone. So firstly, I have to say that obviously COVID-19 dominates news coverage, and like me as a reporter covering international affairs, I it's relevant to report COVID-19 in different countries, especially in China at the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm follow updates from the World Health Organizations. So we do a daily update on how COVID-19 transformed around the globe from February to now with the statistic from WHO, Johns Hopkins University, and the international governments. So at the same time, we do cover national updates in the morning and evening each day and report the contact tracing notices from our government whenever the new case or a new cluster were identified. So general speaking that covering COVID-19 is a bit stressful and it require you to swift responses to the information as well as you have to assure that you reach to an accurate and trustworthy sources and because the information that widespread by news media is very impact on our audiences and society. One significant observation that I realized is the fact-checking role of media organizations. We do face like floods of fake news across media, social media platforms, and this is when the media do and emphasize on the fact-checking role of ourselves, which very glad in Vietnam about the fact-checking. And in COVID-19, we do that function pretty well, I think. So that is what my observations. Joe, can you unmute yourself?
You're on
Yeah.
mute,
Yeah. Just a
Joe. There
quick
we go.
clarificatory question, Ian. When you say fact checking, you mean that basically that the news organizations were addressing wrong or confusing information that might be out in the public space, not necessarily the same fact checking done by like the fact checker organizations. Is that correct?
Yeah, because in Vietnam, there's I think there's no fact checking organization yet. We just the media do ourselves. Like we verify numbers topic from the origin of the coronavirus or some photo alleged claim that people die from COVID-19. Yeah, so we fact check whether that kind of information is right or wrong on our newspaper.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And during this time, everybody worked from home. You didn't go to the office, and your
Yes.
editor just texted you, or would you have remote meetings, planning story meetings?
Yeah, we do exchange our topics online. So we have basically we have the Facebook group, and because we work at video department, so every product before publishing we have to post on our Facebook group. So it's I think normally we do online. So when the social distancing or stay-at-home notice happen, we find it kind of easy to adapt.
All right. Maybe we can move a bit to Mrat Chotu, who is a journalist and a blogger in Yangon. I saw your facial expression when Uyen said uh, there's no fact-checking organization in Vietnam. So, yeah, but we all know that the misinformation environment in Myanmar is quite something else. So maybe, Mrat, can you tell us, like, how the pandemic played out among the news sector in Myanmar?
Yeah, thank you, Joanna. Um, and Mannaina and Fojo Media Institute, and yes, Splice Media Better, for having me and giving me this chance in this time of pandemic. Because talking about journalism this time, at that moment makes me very motivated indeed. In this point, we all journalists, I think, like the talking. We like to talk, like especially talking about ourselves. Actually, I used to get a feeling of depression, like depression, sake of my career every time when it's coming to the election period. Like Myanmar will hold its general election in coming November 8th. So I'm sure that every media houses shed their face in election time. I mean, they show their side, they show their colors, such as which political party and politicians they support. Like newspapers and online media are ready, I would say here, to take someone down on the paper whom they don't like. It's like the war zone here in the election time.
Oh,
But one part of me said that it's the culture. It media has its sides. It's normal. Like in the U.S., CNN supports Democrats, and Fox only gets the interview with Trump like that. I think something is terribly wrong in this industry all over the world. I'm feeling this. Like people are used to saying that media has its side like that. You know, I've been working as a journalist like almost 10 years in different media. But in June, last 2 months ago, when the whole world was suffering the COVID pandemic, I quit. I mean, I quit from the permanent full-time work. I'm now freelancing. So because I couldn't stand the house policies which say you cannot touch this party, you cannot, you don't criticize on this person, don't interview these people, kind of very strict rules out of journalism, but defending the personal political interest. I'm sick of that actually. I I could land around $800 per month from the last job, but right now freelancing gets only like 400 to 600 per month. It's true story. In this time of pandemic, it's really hard to be a freelancer, as you know. According to the very short research, in this pandemic time, 40% of the journalism industry in Myanmar lost their jobs. Yes,
40?
40%. Yeah,
Four,
40%. Yeah. It can obviously be seen. 5 of my friends from big media houses got fired as they cut their finance in the COVID crisis. 5 of my friends. And 2 of my friends, journalist friends, right now are doing food delivery as their professional. So
doing
they
what?
changed their career. Food delivery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So one of my friends now, he's selling T-shirts for political parties like that. So, what about other journalists who are still working in the media houses? They got salary cuts. Some journalists even haven't got the full salary of July till September. They haven't got it. A friend of mine who quit his job last week opened me yesterday that I don't think there are media houses which cares only journalism than their business, than their personal interest. That's why I quit, he said. But he added that I left this job and I'm gonna keep writing. I think we'll stay here because we left this job, right? And then we left journalism. But after I quit from the media house, I've reestablished my blog. Actually, I abandoned it last 1 year ago, but now reestablished my blog and my website, and I relaunched my podcast. Actually, I'm a text journalist, but let's say traditional journalist. But now I'm hosting the talk shows, moderating the debate, and freelancing for the foreign media at the same time. But here, for podcast too, I'm now learning some audio techniques that I've never been experienced, last year. But now I'm learning some new tools. For the web development too, I'm learning how to code, actually. But if we have to, if we want to survive, I've realized that we have to learn more than we have done in the past. And this for this industry, we have to learn new tools. But on the other hand, when we're talking about audio, about the online, how online important it is. But our journalist friends and are now facing problems of internet ban in Rakhine State, like western part of the country. They don't have, like 4G internet. They're using the 2G access. So that's one of the big problems here in Myanmar too. And we're now most of the townships are staying at home. So as the politicians, ministers, and representatives for the election are already hard to call them, actually, even hard to be on the record when meeting in person, actually. It's now more harder because they're in their home and we are at our home. So they never pick up our calls. It's happening. So finally, as the pandemic and fake news, fake news have been killing the media. It's really hard to be journalist this time. For the journalists who are already sick of their career, might be more harder than ever before. But anyway, I believe that we'll pass this pandemic and keep doing our jobs like before with a new version, as it's a new normal. Thank you.
Thank you, Murat. So maybe, on top of the pandemic, there's the pandemic mixing with the partisan politics. It's not a very happy thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
They somehow they take advantage of the pandemic to cover, their I think their bad parts. When we are questioning about their works and how they are persuade the voters to vote them, so they never pick up our calls. They just use. I don't want to answer this question because I'm at home and they never pick it up.
When home is sometimes inconvenient. But in my experience, in some of the stories I've been doing, I found it a little easier to get people to talk to me because they're at home. So I guess it depends. You can use it as a way to engage, but you can also use it as a way to hide, I guess, if you don't want. Yeah. So we'll come back to you later. Can we move to Bunheng, who is a founder and managing director of Lao Youth Radio. So Bunheng is kind of maybe can share with us a bit of the larger perspective as both a journalist and editor and also newsroom manager. Bunheng is in Vientiane.
Hello everyone. Good morning to everyone. I would like to explain the situation in Laos, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. In Laos, it's happened in March this year, and everyone was very panicked and also very stressful because they have to work from home. For our Lao Youth Radio, it's the radio station as well as the online media. So we have been working very hard during this time because many of our journalists have to travel to join the press release of the government. Sometimes we feel like we are at risk to to get the disease, but somehow really lucky because we have very few cases of COVID affected people in the capitals. So I can say that during the COVID-19 in Laos, the media get a lot of benefits. I mean the online media get a lot of benefits from this because at first, number one is I think it helps the journalists or the online media producers to create more news, more contents online. Especially we try to do our best in terms of make the very complicated news to become a very to simplify it, especially for our Lao Youth radios and our Lao Youth media online. We turn everything into an infographic, and what we are very proud is that our infographic has been shared among the consumer, the audience, a lot in WhatsApp as well as on the Facebook. The number of people follow our Facebook double almost two times in a very short period of times because we are very quick. We understand that the news is very important and we would like to make sure that all the content is correct. So we are waiting for the announcement from the government, and just 2 or 3 minutes after the government announced, we already have the data, the infographic in hand. So this, I think, for a very quick times, we could attract many pupils, and because we are one of the very reliable sources in Laos, so people follow us. And I think for some traditional media like the newspapers, some of the magazines in Laos, they suffer a lot during this time of period because many of the staff have to be laid off. Some have to, because of the company want to save their financial money, to save the money. So many of my friends have to leave their job, and some of them have to find a new jobs to survive. And in overall, I think the pandemics give us to become stronger, and now we try to produce many news to reach more of our audience, and we try to check all the medias in Southeast Asia. Especially we focus more on the Thai media. I personally admit that Thai and Lao is very close, and the Thai media has a big influence on the Lao media. So whatever is popular in Thailand, it's also very popular in Laos. So we do our best to not to copy, but to learn from the Thai media landscapes and then try to adapt that something that is good into the Laos context.
So, Boon Heng, to ask, so Lao Youth Radio, you didn't have to like reduce staff or cut working hours and things like that?
No, in fact, the number of our staff increased because we need more online content. So now we have 4 more staff included. We have about 20 staffs in our radio stations. Many of them some of them are DJs, but we also encourage them to be a journalist because as a DJ, they need to know and to understand things clearly, and then they can produce the online content. The online contents from outside is something that is very short, precise, and also we have a graphic teams who try to turn everything into a graphic. So mostly we use a mobile phone, very simplified tunes to turn all the things. For example, when the government says something 3 pages, we summarize into 1 photos. So it's easier for people to digest. And then we feel like we are very successful on this. The number of staff increased, significantly. And in the future, we plan to increase more staff to support our online media.
Because theoretically, I mean, the pandemic should make us even busier, right? I mean,
Yes.
in terms of news. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it doesn't match. Kind of, you might be. I mean, it was the same for me. I mean, then you just do things because you need to do them. Maybe not can identify with that. So you sometimes you do things just because you need to do them, right? Then you, even if you're not like paid for it, nobody asked you to do it, but you kind of have that, you feel that you can't just sit at home and wait. Because obviously, like I say to in our meetings too, that COVID-19 is not a storm that like a tropical storm that it passes. So you hide for one day and tomorrow you can go out again, right? So
Yes.
I think it takes a lot of I think Uyen was talking about adaptability. Maybe Byung Heng was talking about how to make use of the opportunities for creativity that match our public responsibility. And Matt is actually good at taking risks. Actually, I was going to ask you that no, some people might say that the pandemic was the worst time to leave. A conventional media outlet. I don't know. What do you think, Nat? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
I was saying that
Can you ask me again? Yeah, yeah,
some people would say that because you say you left in June, right? Something, yeah,
yeah.
during the pandemic. So I was saying that some people might say to you, "Why'd you do that?" I mean, isn't that pretty risky? Because now journalists want to have uh, fixed jobs. Yeah.
Um, Actually, it's because of the house policies. It depends on the journalism ethics actually. Because I've been looking for a very good media house for me, and then to work uh, and to write what I really want to do. That I really want to investigate kind of thing. But after I spent 10 years, I think I cannot find any media house that fulfill my desire. Actually, that's why I quit. I think I'm not sure, but I will keep going like this, like freelancing forever in the future.
Okay. Are there like many like you think, in Myanmar? I mean, this, because
Mm,
not every personality is built for going it alone, right? Or doing a startup. But yeah, and maybe some people would not think instantly of Myanmar first. But yeah, tell us more. Is it like are more people taking that risk, if you will?
uh, uh, no, 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 really. For me, here, the many journalists are, struggling with daily lives actually because of the education system as well. Many people here, many journalists couldn't talk English so well. But like I would say 5 or 10% of the whole media industry can speak English and can write English properly. That's
Yeah.
why if we are going freelance, we have to write for the foreign media for definitely. But if you cannot write in English very well, so you cannot go freelance in basically. So it's one of the problems too. But other reason, another problem is we can see another advantages is many journalists who are sick of these careers are changing their career to PR like that, to the like some UN organizations and like kind of things. So it's really risky, but I think there's no way for the journalists journalists who love the journalism,
Hmm.
choosing this freelancing job than other career.
Hmm. Thank you. Uh,
Yeah.
Guyen, are you still there?
Yes,
I
I'm
was
here.
wondering if I could ask the three of you, like during like since March or since February, like what's what's one thing that you saw the media sector in your country try out that's different, like that made you think, something's happening here?
Hmm.
It's somebody said that since it's a time for Never Never Land, it's a good time to try things you never tried before.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So
So
I
what
may
are
go first. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
All right. So I think during COVID-19, we because we from video department, so we did come up with a new idea that to run a daily live stream show on COVID-19 that involves staff across sections and audience interactions on different social media platforms such as YouTube channel and Facebook. And we also connected with Vietnamese in foreign country to tell the stories that they are facing amid COVID-19 situation. So I think the way that we live and we take the questions from the audience. We
Okay.
distribute our news, on social media platforms. So I think it's a good idea that we try out.
Are you still doing it now? I mean, is Tanyan still doing it?
I think no, because the third wave is I think is over. So we finish it. So it's
So
just the high peak of the
not
COVID
having
19.
it is also good news. But how long was it? Like in the morning? What time? How long?
Oh, it's in the evening. I
Oh,
remember it 7 p.m. or
oh,
something. And and we do as long as we can, like to provide the news on that day and take questions from the audience. And sometimes we invite experts to uh, answer the questions on health issues and prevention or like
okay.
safety measurements. Yeah.
Thank you. Boon Heng?
Yes, for us, we do two things. The first one is we believe that those who has a very good knowledge on COVID-19 or those who know very well how COVID affects people in different sectors, we invited them to come and join our programs, interview. By doing this, we are working with, for example, the people at the ministries, the lecturers from the universities, and now we also working with the NGOs, for example, the gender issues and the COVID pandemics. We also working with the United Nations, because this year there are so many celebrations for the United Nations, and they have been helping a lot for Laos in fighting against pandemics. So they have been working very hard, and I think we believe that it would be very nice to ask them to come and share with us and what did they do. And also we invited those who has been working related to those who are affected with the COVID, ask their feelings, how's they
Ah,
deal with the situation during the pandemics. And in the future, we are planning to invite those who got infected with COVID and after recovery, and ask them to come and share their experience with us. And the second things we do, fight against fake news. So basically, we do a comparison between what is right, what is wrong, and post it on our online channels, so that people knows that this one is
mm,
right and which one is correct. So these two things here that we have been, and now we are still continuing this program. It's once or twice a week, depends on the
uh-huh.
guests that we could find to join our program.
Quite interesting. So when you say you weren't doing this before the pandemic, Boon Heng?
Yes, we did that, but most of the time we are not focusing on the pandemics. But now we
Okay.
try to link everything into pandemics. Sometimes we invite people from the environmental fields, and we
Yeah.
focus only how pandemics, how environmental condition, environmental problems, solution in the country. These small things all can be linked into
Right.
economics, environments, education, job creations, and so on. So we try to link everything into the pandemics and also the job and what they do. Yes.
And for the Lao audience, whether young or old, online or not, millennial or not, it's still radio more than say visual, more than TV or more than
Uh,
print, I guess.
yes, we are very lucky because in 2015 we set up a radio station. At that time, we know that social media will have a big influence on Laos communities. So we set up the radio station and the media, social media online together. So something like one gun kills two birds. So it means that we have both the radio station and also the Facebook Live at the same time.
So when you say online media, you mean mainly you mean Facebook, WhatsApp?
Yes, we have Facebook channels and also we have a YouTube channel. We just started last month. We hope to have more audience on the YouTube, but we want to make it quick. And because we have many followers on Facebook, so most of the time we do it live on Facebook and also on the radio.
Ah, WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is the most used chat messaging app in Laos, as it is in some. Because in Thailand it's different.
Right.
Vietnam is different.
Now we
Yeah,
use WhatsApps,
yeah.
and when something news or update, people always sharing through WhatsApp, and when people click at WhatsApp, it links to Facebook. So it's almost everything links to Facebook. Yes.
Hmm. Okay. Do you think maybe it's a good thought to kind of come around in a circle before we close, just to ask, like, if you were to look ahead, like, just let's be conservative, just the year ahead, 2021. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, where do you think you will be in journalism will be in your country? Do you think this story is finished, or maybe we just don't know? So if we look ahead, it's very difficult to go long term. So yeah, let's just say the year ahead. Right? Maybe because you're smiling. Who
I
wants to
think,
talk?
yeah, yeah,
Brad, can I ask you to come, yeah, to share your thoughts?
yeah. You made it in the 2021. I think here and over 115 media agency in Myanmar. I think half of them, I'm not sure, half of them no longer exist into 2021 because only survival of the fittest actually. So 10 or 15 media will survive beyond 2020 actually. I guess. So it's a sad news.
Wow.
Yeah, I think in that way. Yeah, seriously.
Well, that's very scary news, I think, on top of the other challenges that media have, like whether it be
Yeah,
independence, freedom, right? But when it's down to your financial viability, uh, that's a big question. Bunheng,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And
the Lao media sector is a bit different, but and there's a lot more state participation. But are state
Mhm.
organizations safer or less risky or as worried?
I think the governments, because Laos is still a communist country, and the media is still very restricted somehow, especially when it comes to uh, saying some things about the development in some areas. But however, the government also opened a lot of opportunities to help the journalists to say what they want to say, and the government also listened quite a lot. Especially now we have a social medias and online medias where people can have the freedom to write something on social medias, which sometimes it's also very helpful for the government to check or to step back and look for themselves what is the people need
Yeah.
to develop these countries. Yeah. So from my personal ideas, I think the social media, especially during the COVID-19. I don't know how long will it last. I believe that when we discover a new vaccines that could help, then everything will get back to normal. And during this time, I believe that there will be the media landscape in Laos will not be the same like before, because many young people now, it's one of their dream jobs to become a brokers. Many people start to become a YouTuber, podcaster, and so on. So I think many people want to do something new that is totally different from the medias in 5 or 10 years ago. So, and it's very beneficial because people earned money. Facebook is very kind, and also the YouTube is very kind. When people produce something, they can earn money. When there is money, it keep motivate people to do things better and to compete each other for the better of the medias. So I
Hmm.
think COVID has more beneficial benefits to the medias in Laos.
Hmm.
If you are not stopped, if you open your heart and your mind wider and to welcome new technologies, if you are not stay at the same point and you are willing to
Okay.
move, then I think you have a chance to become a successful media. Yes.
Okay. So that's like adaptability and resilience, I guess. So maybe a short
Yes.
comment, Ian. Yeah, before we close.
Yeah, yeah, because I very agree with uh, speaker from Laos. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
remember your
Boon
name.
Heng, yes.
Yeah, because okay, because yeah, I think the adapt to new technology is very quite crucial for journalists. Like I observed that during COVID-19, like there are a lot of news organization they changed their channel to social media, which are YouTube or Facebook to chase the news and produce live videos on these channels. Yeah, I think adapt to new technologies. I'm very optimistic about the media landscape over years.
Okay. That's a lot to think about and digest. Hmm. I
Yeah,
think that but I mean, Uyen, maybe when you go back to Vietnam, maybe things are what you think different, not the same, never the same anymore.
yeah, never same. Yeah,
Mm.
uh, I, yeah, about technology and the way that people distribute news, and I think data readability is also a aspect that we have to learn from, because during COVID-19 we have to examine and analyze a lot of data,
Yeah.
they, like the number of infections, the infection rates, and transform it into visual stuff like that. So I look forward to see the future of media landscape in Vietnam.
Okay. So yeah. So I think yeah. Thanks to everybody. And thanks
Yes,
to
indeed.
for yeah to Beta's Flies for giving us this space as well. To Foyo Media Institute. Yeah, and giving space for voices from this sub-region. Richard and Alan, if you want to say something,
You know,
maybe.
no, in fact, Johanna, in fact, it was interesting to hear you sum up from Uyen. It feels like there is a lot of change needed, and this little group right here, I think, has the power of doing that, right now, right in this group. We've got a very diverse group here. Um, and we, Alan and I and Shirley firmly believe in our community. And if I had one question that, in fact, Nai from Foyo is helpfully put us in the direction of, is that, Mrat, Uyen, Bunheng, and Joe, please let us know what this community can do for you. Um, if there is one thing that we could all come together and help you with, let us know, either here or offline. We're available on email. We're available on Google Meet. Come back to another session. Let's have another chat. But Nai, would you mentioned something about training, and you know
is that really useful at this juncture, at this exact time? Do go ahead and let us know what the community can do.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I just want to take a very brief. Thank you for allowing us, our team, to be here to share their thoughts, because this is totally, we understand this is totally different from other team come and share, right? But we also believe that we shouldn't leave all these people behind. When we really want to help them, we need to hear out first what is their challenges, right? Because everything is not all shiny as we want to believe. So it is very good to get in touch with all the speakers, and Johanna also putting everything set into the right direction. Our concern is only that working in this region for, let's say, more than 10 years, we see that what is the role of traditional media or journalism training institutes? What is the role of them? Do you believe that they will keep on running just like that without having any adaptation, without having any will to change, right? What if in future the online platform is available for all the resources for everybody just to stay at home and learn? Then maybe all these traditional media training institute may go down, right? So our goal is that through this discussion, we want to give the message to the media training institutes or the trainers to upgrade themselves, and try out all the new things for survival and also to go forward. Yeah. With that, on behalf of our institute, we also, special thanks to all of you.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. This session has given us a lot to think about, right? I think, your point, Nai, around training, like we're still training journalists to be journalists, even in a time of COVID, in a time of lower revenue, lower ad revenue, and in a time when you have more journalists out of work, right? So, we feel inherently that something needs to change. And this has always been a perspective that we've carried as well, that the transformation that we want to see in this space needs to come through the work of entrepreneurial journalism, so that we can create even more outlets which then can go and employ more journalists. I think that's a direction that we think the future needs to go, and we love the work that you're doing out here. We would love to see how we can continue to partner with you on that one. Also, I want to quickly acknowledge what Tessa Piper has put into the chat box. She says, maybe it already exists, but would it be useful for Splice to set up a freelance journalist database that other media could access? Something does kind of exist like that. In this region, we've got THAILAND, for example, which tracks where journalists are headed, and job opportunities that are coming up. Kirsten Han also keeps track. She has her own freelance journalist database that she runs off a Google Sheet, which has even things like, does this organization pay on time? How much do they pay on a per word basis? Like, she keeps track of all of this, which is fantastic.
She also has a great journalism and editorial design and illustrator resource that she keeps on a public Google Sheet.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, Tessa, and I just want to say, watch this space. We're working on something. Could it be a crunch base for media in Asia? Who knows? Maybe. But yes, listen, there are resources here, and there's help available. Alan and I and Shirley, in a way, are all products people. We believe strongly in products. Maybe making the shift from not just calling yourself a freelance journalist, and Murat, I'm looking at you, but maybe making the shift to becoming a media organization in your own right. If you find an audience or a number of audiences, and if you have a, dare I say, a journalistic product or a media product to serve them, that they're willing to pay for, hey, let's do this. And we mean it when Shirley is saying, please reach out. We're Alan Soon at splicemedia.com, Rishad at splicemedia.com, Beta at please get in touch. We're here to help. This is what we do. We're fans of people like you guys. We do what we do because you inspire us. So.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Johanna, thank you so much for doing this for us. We're learning a lot from how you ask questions from these amazing people. Thank you for bringing this team together. Nai, we couldn't have done this without your help. This is amazing. We want to do more of these, by the way. Please, let's continue working together. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I just want to quickly mention that splicebeta.com/resources. All of the chat box links will be there. This video will be there in a few hours. And I think even Johanna's lovely deck is going to be in that. So watch out for all the links. Please come back for data visualization. 52%, I think, Johanna, of your respondents said that they needed better data visualization. I remember from your deck. Keng is the person to learn this from. 4 p.m. today, Singapore time.
Which is in about 3 hours from now. So
3 hours from now.
Come back, join us for that session.
And you can use the same link. Please don't go buy any more tickets. Please just come right back. Same link. We'd love to see you here if you have the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good afternoon.